It was a Tuesday morning in a small Ohio town, the kind where everyone knows everyone, or at least thinks they do. Sergeant Daniel "Danny" Cole had just gotten off a 14-hour overnight shift. He hadn't slept. He still wore his blue uniform, pants and a faded department hoodie with "Police" in block white letters across the back. His car, a 12-year-old Dodge Charger he bought used from a city auction, had started rattling during patrol. Exhaust issue. Maybe worse. He didn't want to bother the department mechanic, so he drove it to a local garage off Main Street. The place was called Benny's Auto Works. Cheap prices, decent reviews, and just a few blocks from his apartment. As Danny stepped into the garage, he winced from the pain in his hip, an old injury from a scuffle with a suspect 2 years ago. Metal screws, bone graft. He walked with a slight limp ever since. Behind the front desk stood a man in his early 30s with greasy hands, mirrored sunglasses pushed up on his head, and a smirk permanently stuck to his face. "Yeah?" the man barked without looking up. Danny offered a small smile. "Hey, I think my exhaust system's coming loose. Car's been rattling." The man finally looked up, and his eyes zeroed in on Danny's hoodie. "Oh, cop car problems, huh?" he said with a chuckle, not bothering to hide the sarcasm. "You guys usually call the city." "What, budget cuts?" Danny stayed calm. "I'm off duty. This is my personal vehicle." The mechanic laughed again, louder this time. "Let me guess. Want to see if you can flash your badge and get the hero discount?" He snorted. Danny blinked slowly, clearly thrown. I didn't ask for a discount. I just need to know if someone can take a look." "You know what?" the guy interrupted. "I don't work on cop cars, bad vibes. Don't want your tracker or whatever planted in here." There was a second of stunned silence. Danny stood there, his hands still in his pockets, the soft blue of his uniform pants now standing out like a target. The mechanic turned, raised his voice so the other workers could hear. "Yo, y'all, this guy thinks he's some hero just 'cause he wears a badge, limping in here like he owns the place. Nah, we don't do bootlicker specials today." One of the other mechanics laughed uncomfortably. Another looked away. Danny didn't say anything. He nodded once and turned around. But as he walked back toward his car, he tapped his phone. Just once. Not to call 911. Not to report the man. But to text someone who would care. Exactly 5 minutes later, as the mechanic wiped his hands and turned toward the bay, he heard it. A sound that didn't belong in a garage. Whoop, whoop. One siren, then two, then three. He looked up just in time to see 4 black and white patrol cars pull up outside the garage. One after the other, they lined the driveway like a presidential escort. Out stepped officers from the precinct, 2 of them in full uniform, 1 plainclothes, and at the center, Captain Rosa Salinas, the most respected officer in the entire county. She didn't walk, she strode, confident, calm, purposeful. Inside the garage, the mechanic froze. "You Benny?" she asked, her voice flat. Yeah? Can I help you?" She stepped closer. Behind her, 2 officers took out their phones and began recording. Captain Salinas reached into her coat, pulled out a folded photo, and held it up. It was a photo of Danny, in uniform, in the hospital, after the incident that injured his hip. He was smiling, despite the bruises and the leg cast. "This is Sergeant Cole. You laughed at him this morning. Called him a bootlicker. Mocked his injury." Benny blinked. "Look, I didn't know he was—" "You didn't need to know. That man has served this town for 14 years. He's broken bones protecting our people. Last Christmas, he pulled a toddler out of a wreck before fire caught the tank. He didn't ask for praise. He came to you for help." Captain Salinas stepped aside, and that's when every patrol car door opened. Out stepped more officers, 12 in total, some in uniform, some in plain clothes. A few, like Danny, off duty but still wearing the badge in their posture. They formed a silent line outside the shop. One officer stepped forward, holding a receipt. "This is an invoice for a new exhaust, installed at our precinct garage, paid for with our own money." Another officer held up a handmade sign. It read, "We don't forget those who serve, even when they're off the clock." The mechanic's face had drained of color. Are you threatening me?" he stammered. "No," Captain Salinas said quietly. We don't threaten. We remind. Then she turned to the rest of the officers and said, "Time to leave. We've made our point." But just as they turned, the door jingled again, and the garage owner stepped inside. He was an older man, maybe 60, wearing a torn Carhartt jacket and a face lined by time and grease. "Salinas?" he asked. "What's going on here?" Captain Salinas gave him a quick rundown. The owner looked over at Benny. "You laughed at a cop who walked in here limping and in uniform?" Benny shrugged. "I didn't mean it like, you're done." The owner cut in. "Grab your stuff. You're not fit to change tires, let alone talk to heroes like that." And right there, in front of 12 cops and 3 stunned employees, the owner pointed toward the exit. Benny stammered, tried to argue, but no one listened. He was out in minutes. Danny never asked for revenge. He didn't ask for justice. Not even an apology. All he did was send a single text to his captain. "Didn't expect this kind of welcome at Benny's. Guess some people don't like cops much." That's all it took. Because when you wear the badge for the right reasons, the badge doesn't just protect others, it protects you too. Back at the station later that week, Danny walked into the locker room to find a small note taped to his locker. In neat handwriting, it said, "You don't have to stand tall all the time. We've got your back when you can't." R. Next to the note was a new pair of insoles for his bad hip and a voucher for full vehicle maintenance from another mechanic, one of the officer's brothers. Some people think respect comes from rank, but real respect? That comes from how you treat people when nobody's filming. Danny didn't wear his badge like a crown. He wore it like armor. And when someone tried to mock that, the entire brotherhood showed up. Not to fight, but to remind the world, you don't disrespect those who protect you, not even for 5 minutes. If this story moved you, hit like and subscribe. More real, powerful moments like this await you every day.